Hello fellow woodworkers and welcome to this week's edition of the Garage Workshop, and in this week's video we're going to be revisiting my router table build. Roll the intro. So if you saw my recent video, I redid my router table. At the end of the video, I sort of left the main structure complete. And in this week's video, I'm going to be adding a couple of little bits to it, which I've been wanting to add really since I built it. And also, I want to address the issue with the power switch. I'm really not happy with how I did it. It looks ugly and it's just not very well fixed on. So we're going to start by readdressing that, and then I'm going to make some changes to the rest of it. If you haven't seen any of the videos before and you're new to the channel, please can I ask you to subscribe, like, comment, hit the notification bell. Right, let's get going. So the first thing to do was to take off the old contraption I had the power button on, and it was absolutely awful. It's only when I looked at it after I did the last video I thought this is just ridiculous. The next thing was I cut up a little piece of MDF to be the sort of strip that's going to hold the power unit. This was just a piece of 9mm MDF. It was strong enough for what I need it to be. And again, it was a piece lying around the garage. Now, at this part of the video, it looks like I'm actually going to fix it to the top. Which later on I decided that I didn't want to do that for the simple reason I want to leave the sort of edge of the routing table exposed, just because if I ever want to take it out or anything like that, I want to leave it exposed. And what I'm going to do is put a little strip on the end just to cover those bits of MDF there that you saw a minute ago. So although I measured it up and I offered it up for that, when I actually came to install it, it was lower, and I did know I was going to do that at the beginning. So the next thing to do was just to draw a shape around the power button, and then use that as a sort of template to cut out so that it can be sort of countersunk. Now I have to say, if anyone from Trend ever watches this video, the placement of the screw holes to fix that are ridiculous. Whichever way you do it, it's virtually impossible to do it effectively. So if anyone from Trend is looking, when you do that next time, just readjust the fixing points. They need to be at the front and they're at the back. So then all I did was just drilled a couple of holes to get my jigsaw in. This is my jigsaw from my recent Parkside review video. I'll put a link to that video in the comments for this. It's really, really good, this jigsaw. I really like it, and I was just taking my time, bearing in mind this footage is speeded up. I was taking my time because I wanted to do a good job, and obviously with the camera there you can see it's the most ridiculous piece of cack-handed filming you ever will see in your life. With that done, I had to just temporarily take the lid off to offer it up to sort of get it in. And it was at this point I realised that it didn't fit at the bottom, and it was a little bit not straight, I think is the easiest way to say it. So I just put it into the miter saw, and as you can see, I just did some sort of touch-up bits just to sort of straighten it out where the jigsaw had been on an angle and it had left like a little wedge as opposed to a completely straight part. So I did that, and I took my time, got it nice and equal, and then when I offered it up again, it worked really, really well, and it fitted absolutely perfectly. I was really, really pleased with how it fitted in exactly as I hoped it was going to be. Then I just reattached the switch at the top, all pretty basic, straightforward stuff. And I did think about how I was going to fix it, because as I just said, the screw holes are ridiculous. So I came out with a sort of over-engineered, elaborate way of trying to fix it, which I think I've just about got away with. I mean, you'll be the judge when you watch this yourself. So I just popped in some 18mm MDF into the miter saw, and I cut it to be exactly the same depth as the switch, but with the switch's mounting holes. I know that sounds terrible explanation, but basically the mounting holes make the switch deeper. So I cut two pieces of MDF that were exactly the right size to give me sort of two supports to fix a flatter bit to. So you'll see it a bit more in a minute. So that piece you just saw me cut, this is me cutting it again, just confirming it was exactly the right length. So with that done, I offered it up. And this little offcut you can see me putting on the top, weirdly enough, was just the right size. It came out of my scrap pile and it was exactly the right size as that piece, which was weird and probably 1 in a million, never ever happen or likely to happen again. So with that, I just marked out, pre-drilled, because obviously it's MDF, and when it's MDF, it's always best to pre-drill everything that you do. So I pre-drilled it, and then I got my little hand drill from Parkside, and I just countersunk a tiny little hole on there. It was nothing very big. It was literally going to be a small screw that fixed it anyway. So the little countersunk hole was just literally small enough to take a little screw. I then actually made a mistake on that one, as you can see from this video. That first hole was far too deep, and and as I realised, those screws weren't going to be big enough. It was too deep, so I used a bigger one on that side. Luckily for me, the other holes I didn't really need to worry too much because they were sort of more shallower. And this time I'd learnt my lesson and not done it so deeply. That's me reaching off to get other size screws. That's what that is, in case you're interested. So that I'm not actually fixing the switch to this. I'm going to use a sort of combination of gravity, because when this is stood up, when you're pushing it in, all you're going to do is constantly push it back against this little frame that I've made. So I shouldn't have any problems with it. So with that done, I lined it up, stuck it on, used a bit too much wood glue, and then I just got like an off piece, an off cut, and I literally just clamped it. It was just very careful how I clamped that there, and I left it to dry. Actually left it to dry for a few hours just to make sure it was okay. And the next bit was to move on to the next part, which is the shelf down the side that the router bits are actually going to sit in. And you'll see from this, I've marked it up. What I wanted to do was knock the two ends off, because this is a piece I had previously used or wanted to use as a stretcher, so it had all pocket holes in the end. So I wanted to take those off. And then when I'd done that, and I knew I had two straight edges, I could cut it down to exactly the right size, which fortunately I had quite a bit to spare there. So lots and lots of spare space. You can just see the end of the pocket holes on that right hand side. I have got those pocket hole holes on the other side, but I'm just going to put a strip on that when I eventually finish the project, like a little face frame around the edge. So with all of that done, the next stage, I went back to my little switch unit, and I just put a screw through. Now this time I didn't countersink them, and I explained that at the end of the video why I didn't do that. I just pre-drilled, got the 4 holes through, and then when I was happy with the placement, I just offered it up and fixed it on. And as you can see here now, I've left that sort of gap, and again I only ended up pre-drilling that first one because the size of screw I was using was so tiny. There was no way that screw is ever going to split that MDF. It's just too small. So I used that. It's about, those screws are about 1.5 mil, I think. Sorry, not 1.5 mil, 1.5 centimeters. So then I fixed it, and as you can see, I've left that strip at the top bare. And those two bits that aren't the router table on the right and the left, I'm just going to put a little bit of edging on that, and I'll paint the edging black, and I'll do that there. I do mention that later in the video. So with that done, it was over to drill the holes for my router bits. And here, I just did a sort of test piece to make sure that I hadn't set the drill too deep, which fortunately I hadn't. In fact, it probably could have been a few mil more deep or deeper. Then I used my Temu set square, and I put 2 lines in. And here, I didn't know what the best alternation was, so I just went for a pattern that sort of felt right. It was sort of the width and a bit of the square that I've got there. And when I came to this, that's me extending it. When I came to do it, I thought, it looks about right. It looks about the right size to me. But what I did do was extend it because I didn't have enough holes for all of my router bits that I wanted to put in it. So again, I just followed the same process until I got to the end of the piece of wood. There actually is some space at the end, and that's left deliberately because if I get any router bits that are bigger, like half an inch, then I can always take that off and re-drill it because, as I say at the end, I've put pocket holes in it to keep it there. So just a case of drilling them out. There was a little bit of sort of tear out from the MDF, but again, this is an old piece of MDF that's been lying around for a while, like the rest of the cabinet. So I just got the block off and I knocked it back with a bit of sandpaper. And then the next thing to do was just to fill it up, attach it, and put all my router bits in it. So, fellow woodworkers, this part of the project is over. As you can see, I put this panel in and I've now fixed my on-off button so it's sort of sitting proud. It's not the neatest thing in the world there, but I am going to paint this. I'm actually going to paint it black, and hopefully you won't see that, and I might even seal it in a little bit. The screws that are there are just temporary. I think what I might do is go for like a peg system like I used on the running number box. And if not, I'll countersink them and cover them in filler. I've kept it this low for two reasons. Number one, I am going to have doors on the bottom. My shop vac is going to go in there. And the second reason is I didn't want it to come too low because it would stop access to the actual router inside, which obviously sort of defeats the purpose, really. So when I make the doors that are going to go on here, or the door that's going to go on here, it's going to give me a little bit of room. I haven't fixed it in the middle because, to be honest, there's no pressure on it or anything like that, so I don't think it needs to be fixed. And across the top here, I'm going to put a removable sort of strip. I didn't want to bring this all the way up because obviously the tray's there. On the side, very pleased with my little shelf for my router bits. I've just fixed it with pocket hole screws, so if at any point I wanted to take it off and put some more in, I can. The holes are a little bit bigger. They do move around a little bit, but to be honest, I'm not really fussed about that. So this build is ongoing. It's going to be in at least another video, hopefully next week. If this is your first time at the channel, please can I ask you to subscribe, like, comment, hit the notification bell and all those important things for the YouTube algorithm. And if you are a regular subscriber, also don't forget to like and comment. I'm getting there with this build slowly. I'll see you on next week's edition of the Garage Workshop. Take care, fellow woodworkers. So the first thing to do was to take off the old contraption. I had the power button on and it was absolutely awful. It's only when I looked at it after I did the last video, I thought this is just ridiculous. The next thing was I cut up a little piece of MDF to be the sort of strip that's going to hold the power unit. This was just a piece.